Plaza Mayor of Madrid. The Plaza Mayor is located in the center of Madrid, in the Sol district, next to Calle Mayor and 300 meters from the Puerta del Sol. History. The beginnings of the square date back to the 16th century, when at the confluence of the roads, today's streets, of Toledo and Atacha, on the outskirts of the medieval town. The main market of the town was held in this place, known as Plaza del Arrabal. At that time, a first porticoed house, or fish market, was built to regulate commerce in the square. In 1560, after having moved the court to Madrid in 1561, Philip II commissioned the project to remodel the square to Juan de Herrera. That same year, the demolition of the block houses of the old square began. The construction of the first building of the new square, the Casa de la Panaderia, began in 1590 by Diego Solero, on the site of the old fish market. In 1617, Philip III commissioned the completion of the works to Juan Gómez de Mora, who completed the square in 1619. Decoration of the Plaza Mayor on the occasion of the entry of Charles III into Madrid. Oil painting by Lorenzo Quiros, 1760. Preserved in the Royal Academy of Fine Arts of San Fernando. The Plaza Mayor has suffered 3 major fires in its history, the first of them in 1631. Juan Gómez de Mora himself was in charge of the reconstruction works. The second fire occurred in 1672, and it was the architect Tomás Roman who was in charge of the reconstruction. The last fire, which destroyed a third of the square, took place in 1790. Sabatini directed the extinguishing work, and the reconstruction was entrusted to Juan de Villanueva, who lowered the height of the farmhouse that surrounds the square from 5 to 3 floors and closed the corners, enabling large arcades for its access. The reconstruction works would last until 1854. After Villanueva's death, they were continued by his disciples Antonio López Aguado and Custodio Moreno. In 1848, the equestrian statue of Philip III was placed in the center of the square, the work of Juan de Bologna and Pietro Tacca, dating from 1616. In 1880, the Casa de la Panaderia was restored. Joaquín María de la Vega was in charge of the project. In 1921, the farmhouse was renovated, work by Oriol. In 1935, another reform was carried out by Fernando García de Mercadal. In the 1960s, a general restoration was undertaken, which closed it to road traffic, replaced the Arabic tile of the roofs with slate, and enabled an underground car park under the square. The last of the actions in the Plaza Mayor, carried out in 1992, consisted of the mural decoration, the work of Carlos Franco, of the Casa de la Panaderia, which represents mythological characters such as the goddess Cybele. The name of the square, the Plaza Mayor in the model of Madrid by Leon Gil de Palacio, 1828 to 1830. Museum of History of Madrid. The name of the square has varied throughout history, from the original name of Plaza del Arrabal to Plaza Mayor. It was called Plaza del Arrabal when, from being outside the medieval walled enclosure, it became the center of the new neighborhoods, formed by the widening of the town to the east during the reign of John II of Castile, called El Arrabal. In 1812, complying with the decree that provided that all the main squares of Spain were renamed Plaza de la Constitución, it changed its name, but it would only last until 1814, the year in which it was renamed Plaza Real. It recovered the name of Plaza de la Constitución in the periods from 1820 to 1823, from 1833 to 1835, and from 1840 to 1843. In 1873, it changed its name to Plaza de la República, and again to Plaza de la Constitución from the restoration of Alfonso XII in 1876 until the dictatorship of Primo de Rivera in 1923. After the proclamation of the Second Republic, it was changed again to the name of Plaza de la Constitución until the end of the Spanish Civil War, when the popular name of Plaza Mayor was recovered, a name that lasts until today. Characteristics. Commemorative plaques. During the reign of Philip III, by his order, the old square of this town was dissolved and demolished and reworked in the space of 2 years, being President of Castile Don Fernando de Acevedo, Archbishop of Burgos and Superintendent of its factory. The Licentiate Pedro de Tapia, of the Supreme Council of Castile, and of the General Inquisition and Corregidor, Don Francisco de Villasís, Knight of the Order of Santiago, and Alderman, Commissioners, Juan Fernandez and Don Gabriel de Ocana, Alarcón, Knight of the Order of Santiago, Juan de Pinedo, Francisco Enriquez de Villacorta, and Don Fernando Vallejo, journeyman of the House of His Majesty, and it was finished in the year 1619. During the reign of Don Carlos II and Queen Mariana of Austria, his mother and guardian, governing, this royal house of the bakery having been burned on August 2nd, 1672, it was rebuilt from the foundations, improved in factory and layout. Being president of Castile Pedro Núñez de Guzmán, Count of Vallombrosa y de Castronuevo, and superintendent of the work, Don Lorenzo Santos de San Pedro of the Royal Council of Castile, Knight of the Order of Santiago, and corregidor of this town Don Baltasar de Rivadeneira y Zúñiga Marquez de la Vega of the Council of Finance, and Knight of the same order, and alderman commissioners Don Geronimo Dalmau y Casanate, and Rafael Sanguinito, Don Tomás de Alava y Aragon, and Don Andrés Martínez, Navarrete Knights of the same order and chivalry of Santiago. It was over in 17 months. Year of 1674. Coat of Arms of Charles II. Arms of Charles II on the façade of the Casa de la Panadería. In the upper central part of the Casa de la Panadería is carved in stone a coat of arms with the arms of Charles II. Given the absence of the arms of Portugal, it can be deduced that the coat of arms was carved after 1668, the date on which the Spanish crown recognized the independence of Portugal, which had been de facto since 1640. The coat of arms is composed of the arms of Castile and Leon, in the first quadrant, the arms of Aragon and Sicily, in the second, the arms of Austria and modern Burgundy, in the third, those of ancient Burgundy and Brabant, in the fourth, those of Flanders and those of Tyrol in the lower escutcheon, and the symbol of Granada in the center of the shield. The arms of Portugal would have been placed in an upper escutcheon, between those of Castile and Leon and those of Aragon. The Knife-Maker Arch. Knife-Maker's Arch. The Arco de Cuchilleros is perhaps the most famous of the 10 entrances to Madrid's Plaza Mayor, i. 7 de Julio, Arc de Triomphe and Felipe III to the north, Sal, Zaragoza and Girona to the east, Betaneras, Toledo, also called Arco de Cofreros, and Cuchilleros to the south. The official name of this access is Calle de la Escalerilla de Piedra, and Ciudad Rodrigo to the west, and is located in the southwest corner of the square. The considerable height of this arch is due to the great difference in level that exists between the Plaza Mayor and the Cava de San Miguel. The architecture of this arch is the work of Juan de Villanueva, who, after the fire of 1790, completely closed the square, enabling a series of arcades for its access. The origin of its name was given by Calle de Cuchilleros, the primitive site of the Guild of Cutlers who supplied their articles to the Guild of Butchers based within the square. Facades of the square. It is a rectangular arcaded square, 120.9 meters long by 93.06 meters wide, or what is the same, for 34 by 334 Castilian feet. One which is completely enclosed by 3-story residential buildings, with a total of 237 balconies overlooking the square. It has 10 entrances, 6 of them through large arches that open onto 7 de Julio and Felipe III streets to the north, Sal and Girona to the east, Toledo to the south, and Ciudad Rodrigo to the west. There is a 7th arch, located to the left of the facade of the Casa de la Carniceria, which does not coincide with any exit from the square, and an 8th arch to the left of the western facade, of smaller dimensions, which does not coincide with any exit either. 3 entrances do not coincide with any arch. Triumphal Arch to the north, Zaragoza to the east, and Betaneras to the south. The 10th access, perhaps the best known, is the Arco de Cuchilleros, in the southwest corner, which opens onto the street of the Escalerilla de Piedra, but this arch is not visible from the square, as it is hidden by the arcades of the square. In the center of the north side of the square stands the Casa de Louisiana Panaderia, and in front of it, on the south side, the Casa de la Carniceria. In the arcades, supported by granite pillars, Numerous hospitality establishments are housed, as it is an important tourist spot in Madrid, as well as collectible, philately, and numismatic shops. Panoramic view of the Plaza Mayor. In the center, the Casa de la Panaderia. From left to right you can see the small arch of the western facade and the large arches that open onto the streets of Ciudad Rodrigo. 7 de Julio. Felipe III and Sal. Statue of Philip III. Main article. Equestrian statue of Philip III. Statue of Philip III. The equestrian statue of Philip III that stands in the center of Piazza Maggiore was begun by the Italian sculptor Giovanni di Bologna, Giambologna, and completed by his disciple Pietro Tacca in 1616. It was a gift from the then Grand Duke of Florence to the King of Spain. Initially it was located in the Casa de Campo. In 1848 Queen Isabel II ordered its transfer from its previous location to the Plaza Mayor. Currently, on the pedestal of the statue, there is this inscription. Queen Isabel II, at the request of the City Council of Madrid, ordered the statue of King Felipe III, son of this town, to be placed on this site, who restored the court to her in 1606, and in 1619 had this Plaza Mayor built. Year of 1848. Transfer of the statue of Philip III during the First Republic. The statue suffered various vicissitudes later. After the proclamation of the First Spanish Republic, it was decided to remove it to a warehouse, in anticipation of acts of vandalism. When Alfonso XII came to the throne, the statue was replaced in the Plaza Mayor, but in 1931, when the Second Republic was proclaimed, it was the victim of an attack. Taking advantage of the fact that the figure was hollow and had an opening in the horse's mouth, they introduced an explosive device, which burst the animal's belly. This revealed a curious finding. The explosion scattered numerous ossicles around the place, and it was known that they were the remains of the multiple birds that, over the centuries, had been trapped inside the horse after sneaking through its mouth. The damage from the attack was corrected, and the horse's mouth was sealed. The statue has remained in the Plaza Mayor ever since, except for a brief period around 1970 to 71, when it was temporarily removed for the construction of an underground car park. Uses. Tutelamundi in the Plaza Mayor. Engraving by Francisco Ortego. El Museo Universal, July 28, 1861. From the beginning, the Plaza Mayor became not only the main market of the town, both for food, supplied by the numerous tabligeros guarded by the Rapiso, and for other goods, the main guilds were installed in its arcades, but also on the scene of numerous public events such as bullfights, autos de fe, immortalizing the one held in 1680, public executions, placing the gallows in front of the draper's portal if the penalty was a garrote, in front of the Casa de la Panaderia, if it was a hangman, and in front of the Casa de la Carniceria, if it was a knife or axe. The beatification of San Isidro, patron saint of Madrid, was also celebrated in the Plaza Mayor. The Plaza Mayor is currently an important tourist spot, visited by thousands of tourists a year. In the commercial premises located under the arcades, there are many hospitality establishments